Hey Justin, what's up?
Bo, how's it going, man?
Good. Long time no see.
It is. It's been
Uh
I've been on the road.
yeah, took a little trip to Napa, right?
Yeah. I went to Napa. Really started out in South Carolina. Started out in San
Nice.
Francisco. Real different. San Francisco, and then went to wine country, sort of all over the place there. I'm not a wine guy, but I'll tell you, the research and the history and how into it people are there is fun. To see people so excited about something. I mean, it's their family livelihood. Some of these vineyards have been in families for 100 years or 150 years, and how passionately they talk about this stuff is interesting to me. And it doesn't matter what the topic is. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, man, it was a great trip.
Yeah, I want to go out there at some point in time just because it's a different landscape, different culture, different types of scenery that you can see than that. It's different than here. And
It's
then
wild.
since you're not a wine guy, then you went to what, Bourbon Fest?
Urban and beyond. Yeah. So let's get into some familiar territory. So yeah, right after that, went to a music festival. I love music. I love live entertainment. Went with some buddies that and beautiful weather. It was in Louisville, a lot of bourbon tasting, and so you come back from vacation exhausted, but the good kind of way. I feel really lucky and blessed to be able to do that kind of stuff, but it takes effort. You have to commit to it, and it sounds silly, but you have to make time for enjoying things and seeing new things, whatever the cost is. I'm the worst. I don't think about money at all on vacation.
I try not to.
I do what I do, and then I grind when I get back. And so I don't. It's something I've learned over the years is I truly lock into those moments. And so it's a lot of fun. To my own demise. I get back and look at my credit card and I'm like, "Whoa,
Oops.
I, you
Did
gonna
I
work?"
really need that? So this week, since you've been back, we were talking about doing another episode, and kind of my life definitely was a little busy this week with kids running around and stuff. And you sent me something and wanted to talk about how to how to be a hard target
Yeah.
with kind of different aspects of things, and kind of, and I looked some things. I was like, well, could this mean? What all could this go into? And it can go into majority things of life, and it can mean so many different things. We think of not a hard target as far as, somebody, you getting scammed, not being a hard target as a military target, or, don't be a victim of your own circumstances, kind of thing. And even going on down the lines, don't be a victim of whatever's been told to you. Do your own research. Don't be a victim of how do I become healthier so I'm not a victim to things that may come. And I kind of want you to just kind of go into that thought process, and what kind of led you to start thinking this way, and what does this kind of mean for you?
Yeah. So, when I sent you that, you kind of joked, you were like, did you go on vacation at all? Because I sent you a long list of things, but it's just like sort of a conscious stream where we started thinking about what the next topic was. And I remember being in the military, that's really where it started, about being a hard target. And there, like definition is a hard target is a person, location, or thing that's well protected, difficult to access, or otherwise challenging for an attacker to target, making it difficult for a crime or terrorism. This applies to individuals who are, this is one of the most important parts, self-aware and vigilant. And so I started thinking about that. And a lot of this was like, don't take the same path to work. If you stay in a hotel, don't stay on the first floor every time. That military stuff was about changing pattern.
Hmm.
If you do the same thing every day, it's easily tracked, and then they know you always leave at 6:02 a.m. It's easy to snatch and grab or do all these kind of bad things. A lot of this is in, when they talk about, self-protection and that type of thing, it's the same thing. Change the way you go to work, change what you wear, change who you're with. But I started thinking about it emotionally, which is, am I easily manipulated overall? I think I'm a pretty hard target to get robbed,
Yeah.
but Am I a hard target for people who see someone easily skewed toward their way of thinking? And that can be in relationships, that can be in investment opportunities, that can be in just things we see on the internet every day, right? So this is a people, you see thousands and thousands and thousands of things as you scroll through Instagram and Facebook and YouTube about the next big thing or the next easy thing. It's another big one.
Yeah, because
There's just
and we've
no
talked about what's easy and what's hard.
There's no such thing. But as I think about things emotionally, it takes effort. All the good things take effort. They are never easy. And I think I have been in my past an easier target than I should have been because I get emotionally short sighted. And it's easier to do the same things over and over again because these little micro things work. Because I'm a people pleaser by nature, doesn't seem like that a lot, but I think that's my baseline. But doing research, like even if we talk about investment, like financial, about how you're going to go into fitness, doing some research and really understanding how do I fit into this? What do I want to get out of it? And now I can narrow the lanes a little bit. I also think being a hard target for this kind of stuff is you can't let noise mess with you. You got to at least be focused enough on the goal to say, that's not part of what I'm going to hear right now. Just that alone is really important. That's kind of intuition stuff helps.
I
So,
also think that when you're talking about what you're being fed too, is sometimes you have to be more self-aware, be that hard target. Don't just hear what you want to hear, actually hear what's being said. Because I think we are all being manipulated to some sort of extent by that because people are totally manipulating what the narrative is, either what's good, what's bad, what's going to help us in general. And that's kind of comes back to narrow that lane and say, does this fit my path? But hear the whole words, not just the words you want to hear.
yeah, something I wrote in that was ignoring constant evidence and still acting to the contrary is self abuse. And I think people do that a lot. Thinking about this one, I was thinking about um, relationships, not just with spouses or partners, but with business partners or with friends. You constantly see evidence and you want so hard to believe the opposite. You want so hard to believe that it's not true that these things are happening or that they will continue to happen or that I am a certain way. I think you look at yourself and ignore evidence, right? So you just buy a bigger pair of jeans. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that that sounds silly, but it's like, well, it's because of, and so you start to have these conversations with yourself and it's to skew away from the hard conversation of I had a hard week at work, that's why I'm so tired. I am taking on more with so and so, or this was a hard situation that I had, that's why our relationship isn't as good as it is. You start to explain away the evidence, which happens the same way over and over again. I do believe the universe doesn't try to confuse you.
Or explain, like, I had a hard week, so I deserve X.
Million
And that's actually putting you back to where this is why you feel bad in the first place.
So it constantly ignoring clear signs that something is off, and that those signs come a lot of times through gut feeling. I like, man, that conversation didn't feel good, or man, that last night wasn't as fun as it used to be, or whatever this thing is. I think people will hear this and think of their own situation. But and this goes to drug or alcohol abuse, right? Which is a relative term, but uh, you explain away those signs and things. But most people who abuse alcohol or abuse drugs or abuse partners or abuse money or sex or anything else, somewhere along the way, they say, "Ooh, that didn't feel good." But
Or it's
fall
not as
back.
good as it once was.
That's right. Or fall back into it and then say, no big deal. It was the UT Georgia game. And then next Friday night, you're right back in the same spot, right? Or it's like, hey, it's just whatever. It's a big meal. It's Thanksgiving. It's a big meal. It's Friday night. I'm not going to work out today because again, no matter what the pattern is, no matter what the pattern of speech is, you're ignoring what your gut and what you as a human know if that's who you are. Some people, I'm also convinced there are some people who just don't think about it. This podcast isn't for them probably either, right? And so I don't think if you don't care about that kind of stuff, if you never get the gut intuition that that was a bad choice, click off,
Yeah.
keep it rolling, right? And so that's
I
okay too.
like that you said that because there are numerous of people that really do just want to live their life and want to keep doing what they're doing regardless of the cost. And I think they're not thinking about the entirety of the cost of I wrote down something before we started here, something I want to get into maybe as maybe we'll do a series kind of on this hard target stuff is that like when you're talking about more of the wellness kind of thing is like feeling great. It's a hard target to hit
Yes, it really
because
is.
I'm not there. Yeah, I don't know how to get. Because you see people that talk about it or online when you're doom scrolling or whatever. But like what exactly are they feeling that the majority of us are not? And how much more to hit that target feels that much better than whatever it is I'm chasing over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the ultimate unknown question, and it's certainly different for everybody. And it's also a matter of
Mhm.
you've come from where you want to be, and then that space in the middle. So I don't think you're ever going to be there until we're not here, right? I don't think we have the capacity to get there. I do think if you and that's why I think we've talked about before, embracing falling in love with the journey has to be a huge piece because if you don't, it's gonna be tough because there is no there. I don't think if you really are into the I'm going to always be better, there is no perfection. There is no way to be perfect or perfectly happy or all the energy in the world or all it's super rich. No matter what of those things you are, you can't be there.
I love that you just brought that up because I just ordered his book this week. Rich Devaney, I think he's a former Navy SEAL commander. He was talking about that kind of that you're not really ever gonna you can aspire, but the horizon he talks about the horizon, always changing the horizon because each time if you don't set it high enough, you don't get that dopamine hit off that accomplishment. So you
Yeah.
have to continue to adapt to everything around you because and if you don't do any adaptation to that, it's like drugs and alcohol, the dopamine response. If you hit that horizon at some point in time, you're hitting it so many times, you don't get that response anymore. So you've got to go above and beyond. So when maybe the target is when you feel great, it's kind of always lengthening or
Yes.
it's always a different target. It's a different, like, say, if you get to a place physically, you feel like physically muscle health, like in general, immune system, you feel good. But mentally, you're fatigued, or relationship wise, you're kind of dragging, or or family is just like, we have to go do this
Yeah.
like that. Maybe there's your opportunity to kind of hone in on some. the target that you're trying to hit to how can I make that better? And the hard part about that is I think is you can't change that other person.
No.
You can only change who you are and your mindset. And I think that's the hardest part for most of us is that sometimes we get so caught up in what our thoughts are that are better. And when you can't get somebody to see your side of it at all, and that's kind of the way our country kind of is right now, is you can't get them to see any other side of whatever their beliefs may be. It causes a lot of frustration. But if you begin to just let them be them, and if you can come peace with that, you're going to be peaceful with them.
Yeah, it's a great point. Showing up authentically as a whole you is the biggest challenge everybody needs to worry about all the time. If I can show up as the real me, not the me that Bo wants to see, not the me that my boss wants to see, not the me that my partner wants to see, not the me that my kids want to see, that make that person always all the same. So that's an adjustment I think people also try to make is that they're all these different things for all these different people and it's freaking exhausting. That is exhausting. If you can figure out who you are, a baseline. Who are you? And that's hard. And you can't ask other people, who should I be? Who do you want me to be? Who is best? Figure out who you need to show up as. How do you feel best? Do you feel better strong? Do you feel better with less weight? Do you feel better eating healthy? Do you feel better? And that's, again, understanding the repercussions. How does this make other people feel? If you're constantly getting into hard conversations about whatever it is, gambling, even if that makes you feel good, I promise you it doesn't because of those 19 things that you have to do around it. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's also what people think, which is, oh, well, this makes me feel great. Does it though? Because of all the other, it makes you feel good in the second that it's happening. How does it make you feel 2 weeks later? How does it make you feel in the morning? How does it make you feel the next day? And again, all those things you have to figure out, how do I be authentic me and understand that another thing I wrote, this is a hard thing for people to hear. Other people do not have your best interests at heart. They have theirs. Okay. This is not, so a lot of people are going to say, I care about my son. I care about my coworker. I care about Mrs. Smith at church. I understand that.
And you do.
I do. And you do. And you do. And I do too. Care about a lot of people. But also, if you really start to chip away at that, I want people to succeed, but it also has implications for me. And this is hard for people to hear.
Absolutely.
Right? So your spouse supports you 100%, but they also want to support you because that healthier person is much easier to deal with than the unhealthy one. Human beings are
Or
selfish. Please,
that's who we are.
I
That's who
just,
we are.
it's self preservation. It's something in our DNA that we are. It's not a bad thing. So
Well,
people
here
hear that and they think it's bad.
I've got a good example for that. And it's about me. It's when I have a patient, they come in, they get X, Y, and Z treatment, whatever, and they go and they come back in 3 months or something like that, and they come back in and they feel great. But that is also self-satisfying to me
Yes.
because I have helped that. Did I care that that person got there? Absolutely, I do. But it's also self-gratifying to me because I have helped that journey. So, because like you said, this is hard for people to hear. It's like, now, did I really do that for them or did I do it for me?
It almost doesn't
Because
matter.
I think that's kind of what you're getting. No, it doesn't. But I'm just saying that's the hard part to think about is because like, but that it is totally self satisfying for that person.
And it's
If
also
you can help
the way
somebody else along a journey, that's awesome.
it's the way you deal with your kids a lot. I think about this as I begin to write that. I think about that with my kids. So it's hard to not let them play video games and get them out to get up 500 shots or get them out and run because they said 2 weeks ago, "I wanna be faster." And the only way to do that is to run.
Go
And in
do
the
it.
moment, right, it's not fun to do that for anybody, to drag to drag a kid, but you know how good they'll feel because you have the life experience to know once we're done with this and the shot starts going in, or you make the team and you didn't before, or whatever the situation is, you get a little faster on the mile, whatever it is, or you get better grades, or no matter what it is, you know that pain was worth it in the end. And those are the kind of lessons that but you did it because you also know if they don't do that and you let them chill out and eat Twinkies and then they go try out for the team and don't make it, how heart-wrenching that is going to be for you too.
Absolutely.
And so again, I there's it's a sort of a squiggly line, but caring is self-preservation in both directions. When you really care somebody about somebody, the right thing to do, I think, is the thing that we try to do in this. Just try to help educate people on, I know this feels good now. I can tell you if you get to the other side, and here's the first step. That's right. To me, I think that's really caring about somebody. Or here's a mistake that I've made, but don't make it. See what I've
And
done. You don't have to make every hard. Don't make everything so hard, but also you got to do hard things.
well, and I think that's a good example. You talking about the kids, and that's more than just physical things, sports. That's trying to teach them about girls or boys and opportunities that are gonna or peer pressure, alcohol, drugs, anything like that. Again, you're wanting it, but any either side you're on, you're wanting that other person to like you because you're going to get gratification out of that and they're trying to get you to do so. So how do you teach them to say this feels good right this second, but what is it going to do to me later? And now things are totally different from when we grow up. Now things can be totally devastating
Yeah.
if things are tried, things are explored because that scene, that especially like the drug scene and everything like that is totally different from 25, 30 years ago.
But even kids,
So that I think that concept of that delaying gratification will improve your life more than almost anything. That's kind of been studied and showed
yeah,
that it's so hard as a human to delay that gratification on anything. And that comes with trying to think about stuff like this, trying to study for school, trying to study for any kind of test you're doing, trying to like um improve yourself financially, improve yourself physically, improve your career. That doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen overnight. It's something that's got to be preserved and you have to grow it. And just like this, like even when we talked about the hard paths and stuff like that, your concepts of how you see yourself and how you're kind of being more true to yourself and wanting to grow that, like that's amazing because that didn't happen overnight, right?
no,
That happened over a long period of time, and that had to be a process that you have learned somewhere that was very hard. And it's like, how do I make myself a hard target from what I have been in the past?
yeah. Using that same analogy, I had I had to stop walking on dangerous streets, and so that's the first part of that is I continued to put myself in dangerous emotional situations where it was
Can you
easy.
can you give an example of that?
Yeah. So I think
If you don't care to, if you,
No,
I mean, I know I just put you on the spot
I think
there.
it's great. And most people on here know that I've been married twice. It's not a hard thing to say. I've learned some hard lesson in that. And because it forced me to get here, which is understanding who I am and not chasing who I was constantly trying to provide someone or something to another person. That was for sure my bad back alley. I so I sought out not specifically. It's not like you say, okay, I'm single. I should go find a situation in which I can constantly chase. You don't do that on
Yeah.
purpose. It comes from a lot of stuff when I was a kid, and that's a deeper thing. But once I finally got out of that and said, this has to be a hard stop. I have to find out and never put myself in this particular position again. And the biggest thing was I had to set clear expectations of myself and hold other people accountable to that thing. And that is
How did
showing
you
up
learn that?
because I did it poorly over and over again. And at some point along the way,
But how did your
I
brain say,
I did a lot. I
"Hey,
did a
dummy"?
lot of very specific. I had to go internally. I did therapy. I don't think there's any shame in that.
Yeah.
I found
No, because
the right therapist who, and I had to go through a few. This was another thing. I was so aware of where I wanted to go. I had a couple therapists at the beginning that I said, this isn't working. It's not on you. Maybe it's just not how, and it's not how I wanted to hear it. In fact, the one that I landed on was rough. She would tell me about
that
myself.
makes sense for you, though.
It makes
It
sense
makes
for
total
me.
sense for you.
I didn't need to say, interesting. Tell me about how that makes you feel. I got the one who said, that sounds like a horrible decision. And if you keep doing it, where do you expect that you're going to end up? How does that make you feel? Stupid. And so, but I had to navigate that to find somebody who would get me out of get me out of that space and say, you've made some poor choices, not them, not these other people. You weren't a very good partner. And I was like, whoa, 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 chill. What are we doing? What are we doing right now? And
Wait,
then
I didn't come here to be blamed.
I ain't coming here to be beat up. But when I started to digest that with somebody that I trusted, I said, you're right. You're right. I've not shown up for me. And that doubled and tripled down with other people. Right. So if I wasn't showing up for me, there's no way for me to show up for someone else. There's no way for me to be as um, healthy as I could be, both emotionally and physically. But that was the other thing. These are a lot of things I found out in that. The presence and energy of respect goes both ways. If you show up and you have the stance, and it's not necessarily physical, but some of it is. I'm not going to be disrespected. Both, and you can be kind and vigilant. You can be kind and make sure everyone knows this is going to be a situation of respect. One, because I think you deserve it. And the only way that I can show that is for me to be that way. So that's a huge part,
Mhm.
but it had to be consistent. I was real good about being consistent for blips. And this is the human element in everybody. It's that first week of the diet. Crushed it, boy. Killed it. First week in the gym. First week in a new relationship. First week at a new job. Well, I got this. I'm I'm in it. And then you hit a bump. But being consistent, being
Mhm.
clear, constantly coming back to that why, constantly coming back to why am I here? And I remember thinking to myself, this just pisses me off that I have to be doing this. And this is on me. So people should feed into a little bit of that energy too, which is I don't want to have to think about calories every day. I want to get myself into a place where I can be just consistent and not have to grind. Now, you're going to have to work forever because you're a human being, but I don't have to feel all those. So I'm to a place now where I don't have to feel bad. I don't have to I let those things go. This feels like therapy again. But I had to do that. And I think people have to understand sometimes you have to do that. And it might not be your spouse because going back all the way back, they're going to say, I love you. And you're going to say, yeah, I'm thinking about joining the rugby team. I think that'll make me feel better. And then they're thinking in their head, that's what are you talking about? That's not even close. We were just talking about how we need to be better partners. Um, they may not say the hard things. So that's one of these things is find also people who will tell you hard things. You are one of those to me. You can do it in a kind way, but at some point you gotta scruff the neck, people. Um, I
Yeah.
say find those people also in your life.
I think there's a I think there's too many people that won't tell you to your face in a or maybe it's just too hard to say in a kind way. Sometimes when you disagree with somebody or if you're heavy or if you're like, "Hey man, you shouldn't do that." Uh, but but how do you I think that's where I have a difficult time is being tactful
I
in my
think
approach to things that I may or may not agree.
I think it's easy to say to people, especially from a health perspective, is that you join in. So it's never like I don't think it's appropriate to go up to your best friend of 30 years and be like, "Bro, you're fat. You put on a ton of weight." But you know what you can say? You know what you can say? "Hey, I'm going to go walk on Friday. You want to go?" To me, that's as hard hitting as what you said before because people get the point. And then when they say, "No, I think I'm good." You say, "All right." And they say, "Hey, you want to go have a beer on Thursday?" You're like, "Nah, but I can't," whether you can or can't. If you care about that person, you say, "Nah, man, I can't make it. Got this stuff at work I got to do, but I am working out on Thursday with this group of folks. You want to come? I think you'd love it." Like continuing to show up to
Yeah.
people in that kind of way. You never have to say the thing, but you can also divert people toward where they are. You can do it in relationships, right? When you're in a fight or when you're in a disagreement, it's really you don't have to say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You think it, sure, fine, no big deal. But you think, hey, why don't you let me think about that a little bit? I'm not sure I understand it, how you're saying it. Let me digest that a little bit and maybe we can talk about it later. That instantly makes you do that, right? Hold you accountable to doing that thing. And it also makes them think, did I communicate that appropriately? Maybe they don't understand it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
trust me, I'm a fan of the direct approach, but also the direct like this. I don't have to constantly punch you in the face to have you get the point.
Yeah.
That's something that I think we can
That's a
continue
good that's a good way to put it.
to learn from people. Show up, be caring, come to them how they want to hear it, but also don't dance around things. But want to be involved. It doesn't do me any good to tell a friend go work out. If I'm so into it, I should show up with you. It's not telling people what to do.
Come with me.
Do the like I'm going to show up as a certain way. If you aren't already learning it from me, just being around me, a little bit shame on me, but I'm also going to show up with you in this thing because I want to be a part of the journey. And then you can let people ride their own train off into wherever they want to go. But to get them there and all these things, I think is really, really important. And you can be kind and forceful and loving all at the same time. Um, but you got to really lock in.
That's a great way to I mean, I'm gonna I'm gonna bring it back just a little bit, and what's kind of what like, kind of what you're saying, you know, because all of this is goes in line is that you care for that other person. You care about their health and well-being, you care about them as a person, you care about them improving of who they are. So, again, that's like, if I can help them in this way, guess what? It's still self-gratifying too,
100%.
because 'cause I've helped them.
100%.
And it goes to numerous things, like, what do you do if you're trying to get somebody to be more spiritual or want to believe in Jesus or something like that? People invite you to church. People invite you to go do things like this, and or to the gym, and you do that. You say, "Hey, me and a group of people are starting to work out," and I think they've even shown some things in some studies now that where who you are with the majority of the time, let's say if you're with a bunch of friends that um go to church all the time and you don't, but if these are the people you start hanging out, you start doing it. Or if these people that you started hanging with, none of them drink anymore, and you do, but you start hanging out with these people, you're more than likely to start gravitating to that more lifestyle or going to work out. If you do it a little bit and you're not really that person, but then all of a sudden, that's why these group kind of workout systems work really well, like the CrossFit thing,
Yeah,
any
sure.
kind of the like the Orange Theory stuff, because you end up being in a little bitty community and then you have friendships within that and continue to grow, and you lean more that way than you do the other way that may not have been in as much as in your best interest. Now the thing goes the other way too. If you
Yes.
start doing the things that's maybe not more of your best interest, the you'll start gravitating more to those people as well. And so like when you're talking about friendships, especially with your kids, there's a little thing that we've kind of said is like, and I think I've actually read it in one of Tony Dungy's books where he was told and talked to his team about this to where um, choose your friends. Why you can be friendly to everybody, but choose your friends wisely. You don't have to be friends with everybody. You can
Right.
be friendly without being friends. And that's the same thing as our parents probably told us growing up is like, trying to steer us away from things that we probably shouldn't have been around. It now did they have studies and things to look at then? Probably not, but we do now. And then that is a thing that you start leaning those ways.
Yeah, and even some of this, Bo, like you say, someone says, "Hey, I feel," just even suggestions. So I think when people come to you and say anything, that's often they do that in slight ways because they want your opinion deeper than even you think you may want to give it. And I think you have to realize that with people. Nothing is by accident. Very few people, and maybe this is just how I think about human beings, rarely do people just, "Well, I didn't even realize I said that." Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You thought about it. And I brought up my blood pressure around Bo. I wonder why. Because he's a freaking health professional. And so that's
What's
a
funny
hard,
is I've talked to Cons I've talked to Constance about it before, and you always get this, no matter who you are in the medical field. People will talk to you about stuff, and then some people will say things, and it'll be this random off the cuff kind of scenario. And I've said like if certain people ask me a health question again, I'm going to be like, "Do you really want me to answer that question, or do you want to really talk while you're not healthy?" Because it's like you can only go down these acute roads so many times. It was interesting, like yesterday, I missed you by what, 5 minutes at
yeah,
our friend's house,
yeah,
and there were some other friends there, and
yep.
they brought up something about cholesterol, and Why does that happen? I don't know, but of course, my wife's like, "Oh my god, don't get him going, don't get him started," because I just start blah, 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 just
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
nonstop about whatever, and I'm sure they're like taking it in, or they're like, "What did I do?
Yeah. Well, I listen,
Why did I
so
open up
so
this can of worms?"
then don't. And so also, I don't think you should ever feel bad about that, especially when things about that you're passionate about. Also, people will learn. You better talk about if you want to talk about something else, talk about the weather, talk about football. If you want to talk about health or fitness or emotional health, don't bring it up unless you got a couple minutes. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I
because
really
there's
do.
more than there's not a one answer response.
There isn't, but deep down, I also think they really trust you. They really trust your experience. They really trust your background, and they trust what you are going to tell them, no matter what side of it. And then they can again, you're just putting them in the right direction. That's not an accident. We don't do that by accident to pacify you.
Mhm.
It's because you're the easiest access point to that. And we know where, if you go, even if you go to your doctor and ask that question, you're going to get 31 seconds. And so sometimes
Yeah,
I really
true.
do think, oh, probably that like,
And
re-
this
I need to know some depth about this. And I trust Bo. And I know he's not going to be shy to tell me all the things and then how it specifically relates to me and then smack some chips out of my hand. you know? Um, I,
or I might just eat them. I don't know. Depends
Yeah,
on
I
what
don't
kind of chips they
know.
are.
Don't know what day it is. So listen, man, it's been great.
Yeah.
I think it's a good one. We can talk about this one forever. We'll continue this one because I think continuing to sort of harden your path, making sure that you are vigilant on who you are and want to be, and decide where you're gonna go. It's not gonna be easy, but freaking decide and don't let people kidnap you back to where you used to be.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. So
Listen, have an
this
amazing week.
this is our experiment, right? And we're gonna go through some modules of how to be a hard target. This is the experiment, and you have to choose the different elements that you can put into your experiment that works for you. And
Absolutely.
like I said, I think we should continue this and kind of break down and maybe some smaller segments of what is the hard target in this area, what is a hard target in this area, and kind of get it more in depth on each one of those.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love it. Listen, man, I appreciate you. Have a great week. Until next time.
All right, man.
All right, man.
See ya.